You ever try doing one of those jobs you figure, this is only going to take a couple of minutes. Why bother filming it? Not going to be very interesting. I should know better than that. Anyways, you'll see a nice little patch in here. I got mad at this. That happens once in a while. Turns out there was a lock in here and I figured I could just tap the thing out. The genius engineers decided when they put the lock in, there's a screw in here that holds it in place. The screw is actually inside with no access to it, so I'm thinking, how the heck are you supposed to take it out? Well, my wonderful attempt to hammer it out wasn't working, so yep, I got mad at it. Cut a little square around it, still wasn't coming out. Cut a bigger square around it. Had to cut into the metal and behind it that helped hold it in place. Okay, so that leaves me with this thing finally, out it goes. Now I got a nice gaping hole. No problem, simple little fill. Did a little welding and basically she ended up fairly straight. Checked out a little bit of warp, a little bit of dip, maybe a 32nd. So in the process of checking it, what do I find? This is completely bashed, mashed, it's nasty. So now it's actually really level. Problem is, you missed me getting mad at it. So I'm going to have to show you some of the techniques that I use to try and get this thing straight again. Because as you can tell, it's a door. There's no easy access to the backside, otherwise it wouldn't be very interesting to show you. But trying to get access in behind here, so we have to make up a few tools. Another piece of cold rolled, and all I did was put some nice little radius around there. I basically, gotta get my head in here, loosen this thing off so I got access because I gotta go through holes. So basically, I'm using this thing and think of it as more like throwing a javelin than hitting a hammer, because I'm basically going in here and a lot harder than that. I really don't want to damage my work. But yeah, throwing it in here at some weird angles to try and bang it back out again. Some stuff as small as that. And getting into the holes to try and bang away. And then we get into some more heavy duty stuff. Turns out, and I think it was from the factory, where this handle was, it was bent in right at the bottom. Slide hammers. Oh! One or two good whacks on here, pulled it right out. In fact, I had to bank back in a little bit. So now, there we go. Other side's got the same problem, but at least I know the tool to use to fix it. So, here's a bit of something that's a little bit of fun. For those of you who kind of wonder about evolution and how life takes millions of years, I say it only takes a few decades, because over time, soft rubber can then turn into hard plastic over just but a few decades. Just something to keep in mind. Anyways, the biggest problem I got is figuring out what the heck is going on here, because 3 of these spots have a divot in here for this rubber, well, used to be rubber, now hard plastic. This is where the bows for the headliner go on. And the problem is, this one doesn't have it. I'm saying, why wouldn't this have it? And it's like, yes, accident damage. There's a bit of weld area here. A couple of spots of weld on here. Yeah, this section in here had been replaced, and when they replaced it, they used a section that obviously didn't have the divot. So I got to figure out how to form that to make it match the other side, so that way we can, well, if we ever find soft rubber ones of these, we can replace it with something that's proper. Anyways, the reason I found this out is because I didn't think it was going to be very interesting, so I just started hammering this back into position, and that's when we find some more interesting stuff. So I took the liberty off camera to basically do a layout where I measured from the same side here, up, down. Measure from here up and here down, because it could be different. So I laid out as accurately as I could where I want the hole. And as you'll notice, the original hole was a fair bit off. So I've marked my lines, and I basically blacked out the area, so I scribed the area blacked it out so I could see it once I run the die grinder through it, because you're not drilling this hole, it's got to be die grind because it's way off center. So we'll fix that first, and then we're going to make some tooling to duplicate the other side. So now we got to make a tool, and we got to duplicate this in here. So the easy way would be to basically turn something up on the lathe, but that would be too easy. So we're going to do it, well, the cheap way. Found a piece of stock, and just some tubing I found, which is heavy wall, which is good, and it's just about pretty much the right size, depending on which one of these you compare to. So we're going to, basically what I got to do is I got to cut this shorter, make a little notch in here for underneath here, because I don't want to form all the way around, obviously. And that'll be the female, and the male, probably whatever piece of material I can find the same. I think that's 1 inch. So I just got to find some 1-inch stock with a hole in it, and put a nut on one side, flat plate on the other side, probably some scraps I got kicking around, and that'll be our little tool. Well, before I get too ambitious, we've got this little hole here which is going to cause me grief. So I'm going to put some aluminum back in here, fill the hole up, grinder flush. Now that I got the hole in here, I don't worry about these marks, and gets it all nice and flat and smooth, because when I form this, I can't have this in here. In fact, I might have to fill that little one as well. Heck, I think there's a couple I may have to fill. Alright, got our piece cut, deburred, with that little relief in it. Leftover bits. This came from one of the other parts I made for the truck, and what it is, it's a slug, whole saw slug. I always hang on to these, and now you can see why. Because it just turns out to be, what's left of that is just about the right size. So what I'll do is I'll just tack in a couple spots and burn through and melt these all together. Put it in a few spots there. Drill my hole out bigger than what this is, and then weld the nut on the back side. So now we got our little female die. So the little trick on this one is to watch that my one flat of the nut is parallel with that line here, because I don't have a lot of room inside for this to sit. This is actually going to sit up against one of the pieces of metal that are in there. And I can't have any weld. I can have weld all around here, but I can't have any here. So eyeball ballpark. Good thing we're not looking for a tool maker perfection here. So a little something to keep in mind. When welding nuts, expect to run a tap through them because you're going to distort the things and you're not going to get the threads to start. Well, they'll start. Okay, note to self, go ahead and delete this section because this thing made me a liar. Alright, now, you can kind of see where we're going. No, I didn't remove the burr. I thought, what the heck, I'm going to be using this tool once and then forgetting about it. But I found a piece of tubing, heavy wall, with just the right size hole, fortunately. Suppose I could use some solid stock and drill it out in the lathe, but that defeats the purpose of this. I don't want to use a lathe on this one. See if we can make, oh, look at that. So the idea being, is you drive this thing in, and that pushes down on it and forms this. What's going to happen over here? I don't know, but the only way we're going to find out is to actually try it. And if worst comes to worst, well, I can always weld and grind more onto the tool if I have to. Here's the fun part. When designing dies on the fly, you can never be sure if everything's going to work out as planned. So, as long as we can get this thing started. And actually what I should have done, yeah, you know, hindsight's a wonderful thing. We're going to take this out. We're going to put a washer on there and some grease. Because you know darn well it's going to want to try and spin this while it's grabbing there, and it's going to give me a real hard time. So we'll just go fix that. Alright, a little bit of grease. This is one of these things that's like, because the hole size and the bolt are two different sizes, a 16th difference. I'm just kind of feeling around to figure out where the center is. So, let's see what happens. Well, it's definitely doing something. So we're still fix it later. Oh yeah, that looks slick. Eyeball in, eyeball in. I think it's pretty much right. There. Ugh. There are times when I kind of wonder. Times when I'm thinking, do I really know what I'm doing? And there are times like today when I think I might actually have some idea of what I'm doing. As long as you guys think I know what I'm doing, that's good. Alright. Yeah, we got a little bit of distortion of the hole itself. I'm not going to worry about it. There's rubber going to cover that. But the important thing is at least it's somewhat similar to what the other side is. And I can live with that. And you can kind of see the where you're working in. We don't have a whole lot of room. But here's the fun part. Now that I did all this distortion, can I still be able to take this tool out? As you can see, it doesn't want to come out too easily. That's alright. It's metal. Metal will bend. It ain't going to bend too well if I'm trying to hold the camera. There. Let's see if we don't drop the camera this time trying to play with this thing. There we go. Look at that. Woohoo! There. Success. Mission accomplished.